Hello everybody, welcome back to another Steel Division 2 1v1 map tutorial. This map we're looking at Zbuczyn. I don't know how to say the name. I think it's one of the Polish maps in the Polish DLC. But this map is loved by some and hated by many because of one big reason. And we'll start out by looking at the left to right like we always do, starting with red and then going to blue. So, starting on the left side, this flag. Alrighty, so the issue here is this road. This road is cut off by the border of the map. So even if you wanted to drive up here, come down this way, up this way, or have this as a starting road and to drive up here and go up here, you can't because of this. So what happens a lot of the time is red will rush up here with their jeeps or their flamethrower motorbikes, take this forest, hold it, get this tick for a little while, and then take this point and then get this tick possibly. So that's something to keep an eye out as red. Push right here if you can, because if you get this forest here in a good position here, you can get some units in here if you really want to try to be risky by trying to get an AT gun in here that can overlook the supply road right here. Now, with that in mind, we also have a little green forest right here that blue usually won't get to. So as red, if you're able to take this and you're able to get a machine gun or an AT gun set up in here, you have some good lines of sight on the hill here, the road here, and the forest right here. So that's the big part of why people don't like this map, is this part right here. But let's be a little more laid back here. Let's look at the actual way you would deploy and set up and try to play this flank other than rushing there. Well, you have some really good lines of sight right here with these forests. So you have a light forest here that looks straight down that road, and then it sees pretty much both of the forest right here blocks off this part of the forest, but usually people will put AT guns in here or right here, because if you look at the line of sight right here, it's pretty good to come down that road. So right here is a good place to put an MG42, a better place to put an IG or an AT guns right here, so you can kind of stay out of MG42 range. Back here, you see you're just out of range pretty much there with 1,500 meters if you're an IG, so you can drop some effective HE fire on anything that's in here. Now, moving over a little bit, this says it's in the blue side, but realistically, this green tree line right here is a red position, mainly because the roads that blue has going up to it are pretty open, because if blue tries to come down this road, usually somebody will have an MG here or a tank that's going to snipe it right here. And red can just drive up here, unload right here, walk in, and then get set up. So this is another great spot for an anti-tank gun or a machine gun or something like that, because it also can harass the road right here and the trees right here. So you have some really good positions right here on red if you really make it a point to set up here, 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 and here. And the kind of like just a straight out line right here. So you get lines of sight on this road here, the hill here, and the tree lines here. And then even you get a little bit of lines of sight on the town right here. Supported by this, you get lines of sight on the town. So this can be a really deadly spot for red to set up and push from. So when you're on the red side, this is your strong side. Now we're going to shift over towards the middle a little bit, where red's a little bit weaker. So when we look at the middle, blue flip to red, blue only has one flag that red can really take, and it's this one in the factory here. And it's also a hard flag to take because you have a lot of lines of sight into the factory from back here, and then over here. So what red needs to keep in mind is if they're pushing this flag, they have to have a strong push on their flank right here as well. Reason being is if you allow blue to get into the buildings here and here, you're pretty much screwed as red, because it's really hard to try to get lines of sight down the road there because the road bends, so you can't cut off any reinforcements, and then you're stuck in a knife fight. Not to mention, there's a lot of openings in the town right here, so if you try to set tanks up here, you can be open to anti-tank gun fire from here, as well. Bazookas wreak havoc in this town. So keep that in mind. The best way to really hold this town is get some good close quarter infantry back here. So when your opponent tries to rush these two buildings and this building here, you can burn them out and then have a machine gun over here to cut off anybody trying to come down this road to get into buildings here or coming through the trees right here. Another good line of sight that you can have is right here with a machine gun or a sniper. Cuts off these buildings. You're able to engage it there. You're able to engage these buildings back here, which people like putting machine guns in, which is a very good spot. You have a good line of sight down the road here, so be aware of that. We'll talk about that more when we're on the blue side. Pushing up right here, you can get a good machine gun line right here, shooting at any transports that come down the road here. And then obviously this tree line is dominating if you take it as red. But more defensively as red, we got to take into account how are we going to hold these two flags here that are very susceptible to being taken by early rushes. Well, playing back a little bit here with some close quarters infantry is really good. Let them try to come up in the buildings, hit them with flamethrowers, Molotov cocktails, pioneers. push them back a little bit, have some tank support right here to cover the open and the road. So it's a good little spot right there. Same right here with the light forest, put a tank here, helps cut off the opening right here. And then just really be aware that you have good lines of sight here, but you're going to have to play more defensive as red, unless for some reason you really want to push here in the middle. Your play style will change, but typically as red, you're going to want to play a little more defensive in the middle because you have some good geographical positions on the right side of the map that helps support the middle itself. But we'll look at that in a second. So when you're coming more towards the right side of the middle, you have some good lines of sight here for machine guns or snipers that if your opponent gets in here, you can fight them off with that. This is another good line of sight for a machine gun or a sniper. These green trees here are really good, gives you some added cover. Sniper's really good. You put it here, possibly able to pin down the road there. Always be sure, this is one little tip when you're using the line of sight tool. If you think you can see it with your position here, be sure that you can see it from your opponent's position too. It's like the old adage when you're playing hide and seek as a kid. If I can't see them, they can't see me. It's kind of how it is sometimes. So if they can't see you, but it says you can see them, sometimes you really can't see them. You can't hit them, even though it says you can. So keep that in mind there. But now we're going to move over towards the right side a little bit more, because when you really look at it from red's perspective, the strengths for red is the right flank and the left flank. So let's look at the right flank. Here, a little mix in with the middle. We have a really good lines of sight right here down this road here, here. So you really cut off a little angle right here, like a U shape from this line of sight here and this line of sight too, which is very good at supporting this one right here by helping stop any machine guns in here and shooting at any tanks or any vehicles that come down this road. But further, you have a really good line of sight here from the top of the hill. So get like an IG, a heavier tank, maybe a medium tank, just to be able to drop some fire support down on the valley, stop your opponent from pushing through that field. It's a great position to take right there. Further, you have a really good position here with this farmhouse. It's pretty apparent, but be aware that when you're playing somebody who's of equal skill as you or even better, they're going to assume you're going to be holding that farmstead for a couple of reasons. One, it's a flag. You need to hold the flag. Two, it's a dominating position to holding that field and stopping your opponent from pushing up. So if you get a machine gun here, a sniper here, what have you, infantry squad, it's really good at stopping pushes down the road here and anything in this tree line here. So your opponent's going to make sure to clear out that farmstead, whether it be planes, mortars, a rush attack, what have you. They're going to focus on that. Now, another thing too that you can do instead is this tree line right here, very good position here. You cut both roads off. You don't get this forest as much right here, but you can help make up for your deficiency in line of sight there with your other positions over here on the hill here and down here in this tree line if you really need to. So might want to put a token force in the farmstead there and really defend the tree line right here, as you have some really good lines of sight here. You can bring up a tank, shoot any tanks coming down here or right here. So this is a good spot right here that you're really going to want to hold as red on the right side. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky on the red side. As you can see, this flag is very, very vulnerable, and it's really hard to reinforce. So typically what every player on this side of the map will do is they'll rush up a flamethrower, pioneer, some good close quarter infantry unit, and just sit it in the middle of this forest and hope that their opponent doesn't push it. Well, really easy way to clear that out. Drop a mortar on it, push up. They're already stunned. You can clear it out that way. Drop a bomb on it. Simple as that. You clear that out. You get some anti-tank guns set up here. You completely cut off this right here. Now, one thing that blue will assume is that you're going to have IGs back here or anti-tank guns back here, which you might, but a lot of the time you won't, because you look at this and you say, oh, I don't want to push this side. I'm going to send a token force here to hold that flag, and if anything goes wrong, I'll rush reinforcements up there. So keep that in mind. Almost everybody does that, me included. It happens. You were like, hey, I'm not going to push that side. I'm going to send a token force over there, now have a second line of defense. So keep that in mind when you're blue and red. If you're blue, you take that spot, push it. If you're red, you lose that spot. You need to really get reinforcements there, because blue's going to push it if they're very aggressive. Now let's focus on the middle of the right a little bit more. As you can see, you're lacking for roads to hold these trees here, which is kind of a problem. So what I like to do is I like driving up this road here, cutting across, coming up into here, or if I'm risky, I come up this road, down this road, and just unload here and hope for the best. I try to hold this point while I have supporting fire coming in from these sides. I try to cut off anything pushing up here. That's your best bet. A lot of the time I play the right side very passively. I try to get dug in here and here and here and say, hey, come into the forest. I'm going to reinforce it. Try your best, because it's really hard to get this flag back here and hold it. But if you break on this right side, it's damn near impossible to regain it, because your opponent's going to be dug into the trees. They have so much cover coming up so that they can reinforce. They can walk the infantry through the forest. They can just drive up here and peel off real quick. Drive up here, peel down here, what have you. So you have one of two options really on the right side. Play it light, be okay with giving up ground, or play it super aggressive and try to have an aggressive defense. If you can push up and hold here and push no further, that's perfectly fine as well. So that's the general idea on how to play red on this map. What you're really going to want to do is focus on this part of the right and focus on this part of the left. And with your geographical positioning that you can get, may that be taking this forest here, having this hill and contesting right here and here, or have this hill with these very, very helpful tree lines and the tree lines right here as well in the farmstead. Just make sure you play to your strengths on the side of the map, because pushing through the middle or pushing through the road right here on the very far right, it's not going to go well more often than not. That's usually hey, we're 10 minutes into the game, I have a successful push elsewhere, or I need to relieve pressure, I'll push there. So that's how you play red on this map. Now let's flip it around to blue. So we're going to start from right to left, and we're going to talk about how to defend here. Well, usually what I like to do is I'll send probably around 100 points to hold right here, depending. Usually it's like a composition of a Tanko Desaniki and flamethrower squad, or 2 flamethrower squads and like an armored car, something like that. It's a little extra firepower, because some people really like rushing tanks up here, trying to come through here. But if you're red, don't push this. You're never going to get there, and it's really hard to reinforce. Just don't do it. Just try to hold this flag right here. Force your opponent to waste points on your little token force that's holding this. So what I'll do is I'll deploy a unit here, drive it up down this way, send it through the trees, drive it down this road. You're going to have to give it multiple move orders, because a lot of the time it'll just route to come up this road and go this way. If it does that, you'll die every time. An anti-tank gun will take you out. Tank will take you out. You get unloaded by a sniper or something like that. So don't do that. And when you get up here, though, your issue that you might run into is you're like, oh, okay, cool, I'm in the forest, I'm going to push up. Don't do that, because they're going to have a sniper or a machine gun here, an IG here, a tank here, something like that, an infantry squad here. And if you push up here, you get wiped out. Front line pushes back, you lose the flag. So usually what I like to do is like hold right here and right here and right here with like flamethrower troops, get the bonus of being a flamethrower troop in the forest, hold that ground, and try to push them out and support with air support or mortars, artillery, whatever I have, to give added help there. Now, moving over more towards this area, we talked about how red is in a very advantageous position here with tree lines like this, here and here. One thing that you can do to be very aggressive here is, as I said, this is a little risk doing this, but you can try to push into here and up into here. Most people tend to think you won't do that, because it's a very defensible position that red has here. You have multiple tree lines right here you have to push through, but if you just hold this position, they don't get to use it. So a lot of the time, red players won't put anything in this tree line right here. So keep that in mind. You might be able to get up into these trees here, but be aware that there's a lot of swamp around here, so your vehicles won't be able to drive through it. You'll have to just walk your infantry into it. Now, how do we deal with the whole tree lines, line of sight here and here, and lines of sight here? Well, best way to do it is use your tree lines and just have more firepower than them, or better air support. One thing I see a lot of people do on blue side is they try rushing up here. It's very doable, but it's very risky. Main reason is that you have really only one real line of advance here into a very densely covered area. And when you say you break the defenses here, you're going to have taken some losses. What do you have to contest with? A town. You're pushing through a town, a tree line here. Like, well, not even a tree line, a forest right here. So at what gain? You get 2 flags, you hold your flag here, you're never getting this flag. If you get this flag and you hold it, the rest of the map's probably collapsed. So you might be able to get the farm here. That's a really good snipe. That's if you're doing really well on the right, your support's going well. If you're able to take the farm here and the trees right here, I would say push no further. Try to defend that, make your opponent waste a lot of points into it, and push somewhere else. That would be my recommendation. Now, there are some very, very good lines of sight here coming in more towards the middle and the left side of the right. So we'll start shifting more towards the middle. We'll call this the middle, about around here. So as we stated before, great line of sight here. An MG42 would do a lot of work right here. Reinforcements trying to come in, light armored vehicles coming in, gun it down with MG 34 or 42. Same here and same here. Not as good as line of sight on the road right there, but you'll do a really good job at taking out anything that's in here. So keep that in mind. Now, coming into the town here, say that your opponent does put something in here. Well, you can put an MG42 here, a sniper here if you're the Russians, an armored vehicle to help stop this. And a lot of the time, honestly, you can probably push infantry out through the field here and into here if you have proper support for for them. That is because a lot of the time, man, a lot of people just don't defend this for some reason. So this is a really good spot to push the town if you're trying to be a little flanky and risky with it. But generally, if you're blue, just like barging right through the middle here is a really good tactic too. Smoke it off, rush the buildings, take this little area here. You threaten these buildings here. That's a strong point against you, and you can do a lot of work. So your opponent's in an actual, the defensive position for red in this here isn't that good. Main reason is their strong point is back here. So their lines of sight gets cut off right here by these buildings and here. So they're kind of funneled into only focusing on this. So you can flank this real easily. Now, another thing you can do is push through the opening right here and use this tree line here to cut off reinforcements, any maneuvering here in the field, roll through with half tracks, T-34s, what have you. Use the cover here to help your infantry get more cover bonuses, stuff like that. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, other than that, there aren't really that many crazy lines of sight that your opponent can get or you can get here. It's pretty straightforward. It's mono v mono. It's just go for it. Whoever wins the brawl wins. Probably the best you can get is this one right here with a tank just on like the intersection. And just put like a T-34 Panzer IV here. You can shoot at any tank that's coming through. But that's really about it. That's probably the only real sneaky, cheeky-breaky line of sight that you can get and push in the town here. Now, moving towards the left side of the middle, you have a lot of real estate here to defend. So you can either hold the factories right here, or you can try to be a little more aggressive and push in to the forest here. And if you really think about it, your opponent's going to do a couple of things. They're going to rush you here and try to take this flag from you and threaten you in the opening here. Well, if you're able to hold that off by using close quarter infantry here, good air support, good fire support, what have you, you're going to be fine. And if your opponent doesn't push and they say, hey, I'm not going to push that, it's really hard to push, I'm going to play more back here, you're in a really good spot to move up here and get in defensive positions here and flank into the town as well right here. So this is a really good strong point to help supplement your attack here. Because if you can get a machine gun into this building, infantry into these buildings, it makes it harder for your opponent to attack up here. Because if you look at something like this, the line of sight here may look bad because you're not watching the road, but it's actually really good. Reason being is if you're in this building, which is a great line of sight as we can see, it can get hit by tanks and anything up on this hill. But if I have a Panzer Grenadier squad or a Strelke DP, for example, anything that comes down this road is going to get taken out pretty quickly. So same thing like this. It comes into the line of sight right here. It's close quarters, high accuracy, high rate of fire. Cut it down, unload it if it's not dead already, pin it down there, what have you. It's a pretty good spot. And then you can give your bazooka, Panzerschreck, what have you, also in these buildings too. But these buildings all have great lines of sight coming into the road right here. And it's really hard to fight down this road because if we just zoom in a little bit, you see it's swamp on this side, swamp on that side. So this right here is a natural choke point. And the only way to really support that is by having support weapons up on the hill here. But it's such a waste to use a support gun right here to help push the town because once you get past these guys right here, what's going to happen? Well, when we look at the left side of the map, you have a great line of sight here on the road. Put any cheap, shitty anti-tank gun or tank here, it'll harass anything coming down that road. So as blue, if your opponent pushes here, don't worry. You have a lot of ways to deal with it. Now, another great line of sight as well is right here. You cut off the farmstead right here and anything that comes into the tree line right here. So you have a really good lines of sight here and here. because you can cut off the roads with both of them. And this one's great, cut off both roads. This one's great, cut off this road and the farmstead. So these two light forests right here are amazing. Don't forget to use them. Now, you have some other lines of sight back here in these buildings, but it's the same issue as an IEG back here. It's kind of conservative for what you get out of it. You won't be able to get anything past like right here. So I wouldn't recommend putting a machine gun here or a sniper here. Clearly a sniper, you don't have the range for it. So I would pass on that. But also be aware too, is blue, this is all swamp right here. So you're not gonna be able to drive any tanks through it. Now you can get tanks in the trees here, but they're gonna get funneled around and might be susceptible to getting hit by anti-tank guns. Further, moving over to this side, this building looks like it has a great line of sight. It doesn't. It's actually really, really bad. So you might be able to see it from everywhere, but it can't see anything itself. This one's a little bit better. You get a machine gun in here. You cut off the farmstead and anything really back here as well. This one's not so good. This one also is pretty good at stopping the farmstead. So you have a lot of good options right here at choking off the farmstead. That's why I said be aware of using the farmstead. It's going to get hit by everything. Now, moving over a little bit more, you have this little patch of green trees here. Great little line of sight. You cut off the road here and here. You also cut off the road here. It's a little close to the farmstead, but if you have the right unit composition, you'll be able to pin down anything in there, pin down anything in these trees here and here. And another great spot here is for a tank just to sit in the light trees here and cut off the roads. Now, moving over a little bit more, you also have some good lines of sight right here. You cut off anything that tries to come down this road to reinforce here. Right here's a good line of sight too for infantry units, snipers to cut off the buildings right here. Another good thing to do too is use for tanks, lines of sight right here in these light forests as well. Kind of similar to here, it's mirrored to one another. So that's a great spot right there. And just a little aside, this map would be really, really good if it was more symmetrical in terms of how the roads operated. So say you had a road coming through the middle of the forest here and here. That'd be really good to help the maneuvering and have some more even maneuvering going on with both sides, because the roads can be a little shitty. This comes out into the open here. This is obviously all open here. If you just had a road that cut through here and stopped like right here and like broke off in a T, that'd be perfect. Same thing with here. Had a road come up here, break off in a T and stop there. That'd be really cool too, just for a gameplay side of things, because these roads over here really do suck and it's really hard to maneuver around here. Now, looking on the left side a little bit more, you got a lot of forest here, a lot of light forest. So the king poobahs of this fight here are going to be your medium tanks and your bazookas. So your medium tanks will be really good at cutting down infantry, dealing with other medium tanks. Your bazookas are really good at taking out those medium tanks, stuff like that. So having veterancy in your infantry here is going to be key, so you don't get completely cut down by your enemy's tanks. So also keep that in mind. Another thing to do too is get a nice little AT gun or light shitty tank here, just on the road here. Cut off any reinforcements that come down this road. So your goal as blue on the far left is to take this in the start and push into here. Now, generally speaking with blue, how do we play this map? Well, you try to hold on over here on the right side. Try not to lose this flag and this flag. Contest this as best as you can. Try to put as much pressure over here as you can with your starting points, support weapons, what have you, but don't push the right. It's really hard to push the right for not a lot of gain. Where you do want to push, though, is either the town here or these two flags right here in conjunction with a town push. Reason being is it's hard for your opponent to reinforce here when you're pushing the town for two reasons. One, their points will be strained. Two, it's hard to maneuver into here. So typically you're going to be wanting to hold the right, push the left in the middle. Now, like I said on the red side, don't push this flag. If you can help it, it's really hard to hold. But if you completely break your opponent, there's a bigger situation going on, and you're winning for other reasons. But when you look at the middle push too, say that you get into these buildings right here, your opponent's kind of screwed if you get infantry in here, as it's really hard to dig infantry out of this little block right here, because you can bring up support here, you can bring up support here, but you can just fall back real quick into these buildings. So that's key. Push the middle, push the left. You got great lines of sight. That's how you play blue on this map. So overall, this map honestly has grown on me. I'm not a huge fan of it due to the flag placement here. I wish they would move this flag somewhere if they could. I don't know, delete this flag, put the flag right here. That would be a much more obtainable flag for red to take in the middle. And you wouldn't just outright lose this in the start. But overall, pretty good map. I'm really happy that it's in the league this season. Hopefully we get some good games out of it. You get some really wild games with this map. It's really open. It may not seem like it's open with all the swamp, but it's a lot of good clearings here and there for you to maneuver around. A lot of roads on the map, albeit really shitty roads with how the map's positioned, but a lot of roads nonetheless to fight around on. And if anybody from Eugen has watched this video and made it to this point for some reason, rotate the map this way. This would be such a good map if you had it like this, man. Look at that. Good town fighting up and down. Good little forest fighting over here with a huge field to fight over, a hill to fight over here. It would be a really, really cool map if it was rotated this way. But that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for watching. Oh, and one little update if you made it this far in the video. I'm on the strike team now, so that's pretty cool. And thank you to everybody on the strike team who voted for me to get me on. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to testing the new DLCs with you guys and helping balance the game. So if you guys have any balance concerns, want to talk balance, come hop in the Discord. Links will be down in the description. We can talk about it. But other than that, same shit. If you have any questions, let me know. Any criticisms, let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, take care and stay safe.